For 3 hours, the Azteca Reborn Cartel transformed America's most prestigious sporting event into their private playground of intimidation. The Super Bowl Security Command Center had been infiltrated, its systems compromised, and key personnel threatened. Miguel Dominguez thought his organization's grip on Sunburst Stadium was absolute, but he never expected former Delta Force operative James "Ghost" Connor to be in the crowd. The cartel brought numbers, weapons, and corruption. Connor brought 2 decades of classified operations experience and a skill set that made him a living nightmare for criminal organizations. When midnight strikes over Miami tonight, the Azteca Reborn will learn why you never mock a man who spent his life hunting America's deadliest enemies. Before we dive back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The evening air hummed with electricity as James Connor watched the stadium's main entrance through his peripheral vision. His muscles remained relaxed, his breathing steady, but his mind processed every detail with laser focus. Another group of cartel soldiers posing as stadium staff walked past, their movements betraying their true identity. 5th group in 30 minutes, he noted silently, counting the telltale bulges of concealed weapons beneath their borrowed uniforms. The Super Bowl pre-game festivities were in full swing, thousands of fans streaming through security checkpoints, completely unaware of the predators moving among them. But Connor had spent too many years reading hostile environments to miss the signs. The security guards' movements were too precise, their weapon handling too professional. These weren't regular stadium staff. Their tactical awareness showed extensive cartel training. Connor tapped his smartwatch twice, activating the secure communication link to his old teammate. "Marcus, status report on the command center." Marcus Chen's voice came back equally controlled. "3 confirmed hostiles inside, James. They've got the security supervisor's family under surveillance. That's why he gave them access to the systems." Connor processed this information while maintaining his casual demeanor. The cartel had done their homework, using leverage instead of violence to gain control. Through the crowd, Connor spotted another team of false security personnel establishing positions near the VIP entrance. Their formation and spacing showed professional training. "Sarah, what do you see at the service gates?" Agent Sarah Rodriguez's voice carried the tension they all felt. "2 more teams just rotated in. Atlas is picking up multiple radio frequencies, all encrypted. They're running a professional operation." Connor watched another group of fans pass through security. The guard's inspection was thorough enough to maintain appearances, but he noticed how certain individuals were waved through without proper screening. The cartel wasn't just infiltrating the stadium. They were bringing in allies and equipment piece by piece. The smartwatch vibrated with an incoming alert. "James, we've got movement at the executive entrance," Marcus reported. 4 new players, high-end tactical gear under civilian clothes. Atlas confirms these guys are different. Their heat signatures match Special Forces training patterns. Connor shifted his position slightly, catching glimpses of the new arrivals through the crowd. Their movement and awareness showed military experience. These weren't regular cartel soldiers. They were their elite operators. A burst of laughter drew Connor's attention to the VIP lounge entrance. Through the glass doors, he spotted Miguel Dominguez holding court among a group of wealthy spectators. The cartel leader moved with the confidence of someone who believed himself untouchable, his designer suit and perfect smile masking the predator beneath. "That's him," Sarah confirmed through the comm link. "Atlas facial recognition is positive." Miguel Dominguez, current head of Azteca Reborn's North American operations. Connor studied the cartel leader while maintaining his inconspicuous positioning. Dominguez gestured to his companions, his bearing making it clear who held real power in the conversation. "What's the status on the server room?" Connor asked, quietly. Marcus's response carried controlled anger. "They've got complete access to the stadium systems, security cameras, communications, emergency protocols. If they trigger a panic, it'll be chaos." "James," Sarah's voice cut through his thoughts, "Atlas is picking up something from their radio traffic. The pattern matches what we found during the cartel's casino operation last year." Connor processed this new information. The Azteca Reborn weren't just infiltrating the stadium for show. They were setting up for something bigger. A change in the crowd's movement caught Connor's attention. Through the rotating mass of fans, he spotted several of the fake security guards adjusting their positions, their hands moving closer to concealed weapons. Something had changed in their tactical posture. "All teams, status report," he ordered, quietly. "They're tightening their perimeter," Marcus confirmed. "Atlas is showing increased radio traffic. Whatever they're planning, it's starting soon." Connor watched Dominguez exit the VIP lounge, now flanked by 4 men whose stances screamed professional protection detail. The cartel leader moved through the crowd with practiced ease, his security team maintaining perfect spacing despite the chaos around them. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their total numbers?" Connor asked, tracking Dominguez's movement. 28 confirmed hostiles," she responded. 12 at security checkpoints, 8 moving as roaming teams, 4 on the command center, and 4 with Dominguez, all showing professional training patterns. Connor nodded slightly, though no one could see it. The cartel had inserted an entire tactical team into the stadium's operation piece by piece. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of conversation from Dominguez's group. The cartel leader was speaking rapidly into a satellite phone, his expression showing growing satisfaction. "Marcus, status on the security supervisor's family?" Connor asked. "Still under surveillance," Marcus replied. "They've got a team watching the house. Professional setup, multiple angles covered. The stadium's massive screens lit up with pre-game highlights, momentarily drawing everyone's attention." Connor used the distraction to shift positions, noting how Dominguez's security team instantly adjusted their formation to maintain coverage. These weren't regular bodyguards. Their situational awareness and coordination showed extensive tactical training. "James," Sarah's voice carried new urgency. "Atlas just picked up a surge in their encrypted communications. They're implementing some kind of countdown protocol?" Connor watched another team of false security guards move into position near the main concourse. Their movement patterns had changed, becoming more focused, more purposeful. Multiple teams converging on the service. "Corridors," Marcus reported. "They're carrying additional equipment. Atlas Thermal is showing power supplies, electronic components." Connor processed this intelligence while maintaining his casual observation of the crowd. The cartel wasn't just here to demonstrate their reach. They were setting up for something specific. Dominguez's voice carried across the concourse as he greeted another group of VIPs. His confidence showed in every gesture, every movement calculated to project absolute control. But Connor had spent too many years reading targets to miss the underlying tension. The cartel leader was watching the clock, waiting for something. "James," Sarah's voice cut through his observations. We've got movement in the parking structure. Atlas just picked up 3 vehicles arriving, high-end SUVs, thermal signatures showing military-grade modifications. Connor shifted his attention briefly to the stadium's massive windows, catching glimpses of the new arrivals. The vehicles moved with professional precision, their spacing and timing showing tactical training. Through the crowd, Connor spotted more of the cartel's fake security teams adjusting their positions. Their movement patterns were shifting from surveillance to control, establishing coverage over key areas. "Marcus, what's the status on stadium emergency protocols?" Connor asked. "They've got complete control," Marcus confirmed. "If they trigger the system, they can lock down any section, control all access points." A sudden burst of radio chatter caught Connor's attention. The cartel's teams were implementing new frequencies, shifting their communication patterns. "Sarah, can Atlas track their new channels?" Connor asked. "Negative," she responded. "They're using rolling encryption, military-grade protocols. These aren't street thugs playing soldier." Connor watched Dominguez move toward the private elevator, his security team maintaining perfect formation despite the crowded concourse. The cartel leader's expression showed growing anticipation. Whatever they were planning, it was approaching. "Execution phase. All teams maintain surveillance," Connor ordered quietly. "Document everything. Movement patterns, equipment, response times. We need to understand their full operation before we move." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor caught glimpses of more cartel operators taking positions. Their professional training showed in how they established overlapping fields of view while maintaining their cover as regular security personnel. "James," Marcus's voice carried new tension. "Atlas just picked up more equipment being moved through the service entrance. Whatever they're bringing in, it's drawing serious power." Connor studied the stadium's layout through new eyes, noting how the cartel had positioned their teams to control key access points. They weren't just infiltrating the venue, they were preparing to lock it down completely. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their communication patterns?" he asked. "Multiple layers," she responded. "They're running redundant systems, professional setup. If one channel goes down, they've got backups ready." A change in the crowd's energy drew Connor's attention to the main entrance. More VIPs were arriving, their excitement palpable as they moved through security. But Connor noticed how certain individuals received different treatment, their passage through checkpoints handled by specific guards. The cartel wasn't just controlling access, they were identifying allies and targets. "Movement in the command center," Marcus reported suddenly. "They're implementing new protocols, overriding standard security measures." Connor watched another team of false guards take position near the emergency exits. The cartel's operation was shifting from infiltration to control, their tactical positioning becoming more aggressive. Through the growing crowd, Connor caught fragments of Dominguez's conversation with his security detail. The cartel leader's satisfaction showed in his bearing, his confidence growing as their plan progressed. But Connor had spent too many years hunting targets like him to miss the underlying tension. The Azteca Reborn thought they were untouchable, that their military training and professional operation made them invincible. They were about to learn differently. When midnight strikes over Miami tonight, they discover why you never mock a man who spent his life hunting America's deadliest enemies. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The stadium lights cast shifting shadows across the concourse as Connor maintained his casual observation position. Every few minutes, another group of cartel operators moved past, their tactical training evident in their controlled movements. James, Marcus's voice came through with fresh urgency. Atlas just picked up new equipment being assembled in the service corridors. They're setting up some kind of signal interference system. Connor watched Dominguez's security team establish new positions near the VIP sections. Their formation showed extensive training in crowd control and threat response. Through the pre-game chaos, he caught glimpses of more false security personnel moving equipment through service doors. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their power? Consumption, he asked quietly. Multiple high-draw systems coming online, she responded. Whatever they're setting up, it's pulling serious electricity. They've tapped into the stadium's backup generators. Connor processed this information while tracking another team of cartel operators moving through the crowd. Their weapons handling and tactical awareness showed professional training, likely former military. A burst of laughter drew his attention back to Dominguez. The cartel leader was entertaining a group of corporate executives, his charm masking the predator beneath. But Connor had spent too many years reading body language to miss the calculated nature of every gesture, every smile. Marcus, status on their command center setup, he asked. They've got complete control of all security systems, Marcus confirmed. Camera networks, access controls, emergency protocols. They can lock down any section of the stadium instantly. Professional integration, military-grade encryption. Connor shifted his position slightly, maintaining line of sight on Dominguez while appearing completely casual. Through the crowd, he spotted another team of cartel operators checking communications equipment. Their movement patterns showed extensive training in covert operations. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their radio coverage? Connor asked. Multiple frequencies, encrypted channels, she responded. They've established redundant communication networks throughout the stadium. Dominguez's security team suddenly adjusted their formation, responding to something Connor couldn't see. Their tactical coordination showed years of professional training. Movement at the service entrance, Marcus reported. 4 more teams coming in, carrying additional equipment. Atlas Thermal is showing power supplies, signal boosters. Connor watched the new arrivals integrate seamlessly into the cartel's operation. Their equipment handling and deployment showed military precision. All teams maintain surveillance, he ordered quietly. Track their setup patterns, response protocols. We need to understand their full capabilities before we move. A change in the crowd's energy drew his attention to the main concourse. More fans were arriving, their excitement building as game time approached. But Connor noticed how the cartel's fake security teams had begun subtly herding people, controlling movement. Patterns. They're establishing containment zones, Sarah observed. Atlas is showing coordinated positioning, professional crowd control tactics. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor caught glimpses of more equipment being moved into position. The cartel's operation was shifting from infiltration to infrastructure, building something beneath the stadium's legitimate security presence. James, Marcus's voice carried fresh concern. They're implementing new access protocols. Certain sections of the stadium are being quietly locked down. Connor studied Dominguez's behavior through the crowd. The cartel leader's confidence had grown steadily over the past hour, his control over the situation seemingly absolute. But Connor had seen that same confidence before in other targets who never realized death was watching them. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their equipment? Setup? He asked. Multiple systems coming online, she reported. Signal interference, communication control, power management. They're building a complete tactical infrastructure inside the stadium. Connor watched another team of false security guards deploy surveillance equipment near the emergency exits. Their installation procedures showed professional training in electronic warfare. Dominguez's voice carried across the concourse as he dismissed his corporate guests. The cartel leader's expression showed growing anticipation, checking his watch with increasing frequency. Marcus, status on their command center operations? Connor asked. They're implementing final protocols, Marcus responded. Whatever they're planning, it's approaching execution phase. Through the crowd, Connor spotted more cartel operators taking defensive positions. Their tactical awareness and weapon handling showed extensive combat experience. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their total deployment? He asked. 32 confirmed hostiles now, she replied. They've added teams at key access points, all showing professional training patterns. A sudden shift in the cartel's communication patterns caught Connor's attention. Their radio traffic had increased, coordination becoming more focused. They're running final checks, Marcus reported. Atlas is picking up systematic equipment testing, professional protocols. Connor watched another team of false guards secure a service corridor, their movements showing military precision. Dominguez's security detail adjusted their formation again, responding to some predetermined signal. Their tactical coordination demonstrated years of professional training. Multiple teams converging on the control points, Sarah reported. Atlas shows coordinated movement. They're implementing some kind of staged protocol. Connor maintained his casual observation while processing the growing web of intelligence. The cartel's operation was more sophisticated than anyone had suspected, building a complete tactical infrastructure beneath the stadium's legitimate security. James, Marcus's voice carried fresh urgency. They're bringing more equipment online. Power consumption is spiking in multiple sectors. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor caught glimpses of additional cartel operators moving into position. Their tactical awareness and equipment handling showed extensive military training. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their communication patterns? He asked. Multiple encrypted channels active, she responded. They're running parallel networks, professional redundancy protocols. A change in Dominguez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The cartel leader had moved to a more central position, his security team establishing tighter control over their immediate area. Movement in the service corridors, Marcus reported. Multiple teams deploying final equipment packages. Atlas Thermal shows power systems, signal processors. Connor watched the cartel's operation with growing understanding. Every position, every piece of equipment served a specific purpose in their plan. They're not just controlling the stadium, he observed quietly. They're turning it into a fortress. Sarah's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms their deployment patterns match military defensive protocols. Through the crowd, Connor caught more details of the cartel's infrastructure. Hidden cameras, signal boosters, power supplies, all professionally installed and coordinated. Marcus, status on their system integration? He asked. Complete control, Marcus confirmed. They can manipulate every aspect of the stadium's operations, from security to environmental controls. Dominguez's security team suddenly implemented a new formation, their tactical awareness showing in how they maintained coverage while adjusting positions. Multiple teams establishing final positions, Sarah reported. Atlas shows coordinated deployment. They're setting up interlocking fields of control. Connor studied the stadium's layout through experienced eyes, noting how the cartel had positioned their forces for maximum effectiveness. They've thought this through, he observed quietly. Professional planning, military-grade execution. Marcus's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms. Their operational patterns match Special Forces protocols. A burst of radio traffic caught Connor's attention. The cartel's communications had shifted to new frequencies, implementing another layer of encryption. Sarah, can Atlas track their new channels? He asked. Negative, she responded. They're using advanced protocols, military-grade security. These guys know what they're doing. Through the growing crowd, Connor spotted more of the cartel's fake security teams adjusting their positions. Their tactical awareness and weapon handling showed years of professional training. Movement at the service entrance, Marcus reported. 2 more teams deploying, carrying specialized equipment. Atlas Thermal shows communication gear, signal processing units. Connor watched Dominguez check his watch again, the cartel leader's anticipation becoming more evident. All teams maintain surveillance, he ordered quietly. Track their final preparations, document everything. We need complete understanding before we move. Sarah's voice acknowledged. Atlas is recording all deployment patterns, equipment signatures. Change in the crowd's energy drew his attention back to the main concourse. The stadium was filling rapidly now, excitement building as game time approached. But Connor noticed how the cartel's operators had begun subtly controlling crowd flow, directing movement patterns with professional precision. They're establishing containment zones, Marcus observed. Atlas shows coordinated positioning, tactical crowd control protocols. Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more cartel teams securing their positions. Their tactical awareness and equipment handling showed extensive military training. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their total infrastructure? He asked. Complete coverage, she responded. They've established control over every critical system in the stadium. Dominguez's security detail implemented another formation adjustment, their movements showing years of professional training. Multiple teams finalizing positions, Marcus reported. Atlas shows systematic deployment. They're locking down their control grid. Connor watched another group of false guards secure an emergency exit, their tactical coordination demonstrating military precision. The stadium's massive screens flashed with pre-game highlights, momentarily drawing everyone's attention. Connor used the distraction to study more details of the cartel's operation. Their infrastructure was sophisticated, professional, designed for complete control over the venue. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh urgency. Atlas just picked up new power signatures. They're bringing their final systems online. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of conversation from Dominguez's security team. Their tactical communications showed professional discipline, coordinating multiple teams with military precision. Marcus, status on their command center. Operations? He asked. Final protocols implementing, Marcus responded. They're running system checks, professional verification procedures. Connor maintained his casual observation while processing the growing complexity of the cartel's operation. Every detail showed professional planning, military-grade execution, but he had spent too many years hunting targets like this to miss the subtle weaknesses in their perfect plan. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their weak points? He asked. Quietly, Limited redundancy in their power distribution, she responded. Critical nodes that could be vulnerable. But James, these guys are good. They've minimized exposure, professional security protocols. Connor watched another team of cartel operators check their equipment, their movements showing extensive tactical training. The crowd's energy shifted suddenly as Connor detected movement near the VIP entrance, a group of cartel operators posing as high-end security consultants escorted two men in expensive suits through the checkpoint. "Marcus, visual on the new arrivals?" he asked quietly. "Atlas confirming match profiles," Marcus responded. "Eduardo Vega and Carlos Ramirez. They handle Azteca Reborn's international financial operations." Connor studied the newcomers through casual observation. Their bearing showed wealth and influence, but beneath the polished exterior, he caught glimpses of something harder. These weren't just bankers. Their awareness and movement patterns suggested military training. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing on their security detail?" he asked. "Four-man team, all showing advanced tactical signatures," she replied. "Their heat patterns match special forces training. These aren't regular protection, they're elite operators." Connor watched how the security team integrated seamlessly with Dominguez's existing forces, their coordination showing years of professional experience. Through the crowd, he caught fragments of conversation between Dominguez and his financial officers. The cartel leader's satisfaction was evident, but Connor detected an undercurrent of tension. "Marcus, status on their electronic activity?" he asked. "Multiple encrypted transmissions," Marcus confirmed. "They're accessing secure networks, military-grade, protocols." Connor shifted his position slightly, maintaining visual contact while appearing completely casual. The arrival of Azteca Reborn's financial leadership suggested this operation was about more than just demonstrating control. "Sarah, what's Atlas picking up from their new equipment?" he asked. "They're setting up some kind of secure communication hub," she responded. "Dedicated servers, encrypted channels, whatever they're planning, it involves significant data transfer." Connor watched another team of false security guards deploy additional electronic equipment near the service corridors. Their installation procedures showed professional training. Dominguez's voice carried across the concourse as he guided his financial officers toward the private suites. "Multiple teams adjusting positions," Marcus reported. "Atlas shows coordinated movement. They're implementing enhanced security protocols." Connor noted how the cartel's operators smoothly adapted their formation, maintaining perfect coverage despite the crowded environment. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more specialized equipment being moved into position. The cartel's operation was evolving, adding layers of technical infrastructure to their physical control. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh analysis. "Atlas is detecting new power signatures. They're bringing online some kind of financial processing system." Connor processed this intelligence while observing Vega and Ramirez's behavior. The financial officers moved with the confidence of men accustomed to handling massive transactions, but their tactical awareness showed military experience. "Marcus, status on their data activity?" he asked. "Multiple secure channels activated," Marcus responded. "They're establishing connections with international networks, professional encryption protocols." Connor watched another team of cartel operators secure the access points around the private suites. Their movements showed extensive training in close protection operations. A sudden shift in radio traffic caught his attention. The cartel's communication patterns had changed, implementing new security measures. "Sarah, can Atlas track their financial transmissions?" Connor asked. "Partially," she replied. "They're using sophisticated protocols, but we're detecting significant international fund movements." Through the crowd, Connor caught glimpses of more specialized equipment being installed. The cartel wasn't just controlling the stadium. They were turning it into a secure financial operations center. Multiple teams deploying additional servers, Marcus reported. Atlas Thermal shows high-capacity processing units, professional cooling systems. Connor studied the growing complexity of the cartel's operation. Every piece of equipment, every position served a specific purpose in their plan. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh intelligence. "Atlas just picked up new security. Protocols being implemented. They're creating some kind of secure transaction environment." Dominguez's security team adjusted their formation again, responding to predetermined signals. Their tactical coordination demonstrated years of professional training in protecting high-value operations. "Movement in the service corridors," Marcus reported. "More equipment being deployed. Atlas shows financial processing systems, security servers." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor observed how the cartel had transformed sections of the stadium into a sophisticated financial hub. "They're not just showing force," he noted quietly. "They're running actual operations, moving significant assets." Sarah's voice confirmed. Atlas is detecting major fund transfers, international transactions. A change in Vega and Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officers had begun accessing secure systems, their movements showing practiced efficiency. "Multiple encrypted channels active," Marcus reported. "They're conducting simultaneous transactions, professional banking protocols." Connor maintained his surveillance while processing the expanding scope of the cartel's operation. The addition of their financial leadership and sophisticated transaction systems suggested something bigger than simple intimidation. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their total data flow?" he asked. "Massive secure transfers," she responded. "Multiple international connections, professional banking networks. They're moving serious money through these systems." Connor watched another team of cartel operators deploy additional security measures around the financial processing centers. Their tactical awareness showed extensive training in protecting sensitive operations. Through the crowd, he caught fragments of technical discussion between Vega and his security detail. The financial officer's expertise was evident, but his tactical communication showed military experience. "Marcus, status on their transaction security?" Connor asked. "Multiple layers of encryption," Marcus confirmed. "They're using military-grade protocols, professional financial security systems." Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained perfect defensive coverage while supporting the banking operations. Their coordination showed years of specialized training. A burst of encrypted communications caught his attention. The cartel's technical teams had implemented new security measures, protecting their financial activities. "Sarah, what's Atlas? Reading on their transaction patterns?" Connor asked. "Professional banking protocols," she replied. "They're accessing major international networks, moving assets through multiple channels." Through the growing crowd, Connor spotted more specialized equipment being integrated into their operation. The cartel had created a complete financial command center beneath the stadium's legitimate security presence. Multiple systems online, Marcus reported. Atlas shows coordinated operations. They're running serious banking protocols. Connor studied Dominguez's interaction with his financial officers. The cartel leader's satisfaction showed in every gesture, but his tactical awareness never wavered. They're using the Super Bowl as cover, Connor observed quietly. Perfect distraction for major financial operations. Sarah's voice carried. Agreement, Atlas confirms. The crowd provides ideal concealment for their transactions. A change in the cartel's communication patterns drew his attention. Their technical teams had implemented additional security measures, protecting critical systems. Marcus, status on their financial infrastructure, Connor asked. Complete operational capability, Marcus responded. They can process major international transactions, professional banking protocols. Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more specialized equipment being deployed. The cartel's operation had evolved beyond simple control, becoming a sophisticated financial hub. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh analysis. Atlas is detecting significant fund movements. They're accessing major banking networks. Connor watched Vega coordinate with his technical team, the financial officer's expertise showing in every instruction. Multiple secure channels active, Marcus reported. They're conducting simultaneous operations, professional transaction protocols. The cartel's operators maintained perfect security while supporting the banking activities. A sudden shift in crowd movement drew Connor's attention back to the main concourse. The stadium was filling rapidly now, providing ideal cover for the cartel's financial operations. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their transaction security? He asked. Military-grade encryption, she responded. They're using advanced protocols, professional banking systems. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor observed how the cartel had positioned their forces to protect critical financial infrastructure. Movement at the service entrance, Marcus reported. Additional technical teams deploying. Atlas shows specialized banking equipment. Their installation procedures demonstrated professional training. Connor maintained his surveillance while processing the sophisticated nature of the cartel's operation. Every system, every position supported their financial activities with military precision. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh intelligence. Atlas just picked up new transaction patterns. They're moving major assets through multiple channels. Dominguez's security team implemented another formation adjustment, their tactical awareness showing years of professional training. Multiple teams securing financial zones, Marcus reported. Atlas shows coordinated deployment. They're protecting critical systems. Connor watched another group of cartel operators check their equipment, their movements showing extensive experience. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of technical discussion between Ramirez and his team. The financial officer's expertise was evident in his instructions, but his tactical communication showed military training. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their banking protocols? He asked. Professional security measures, she responded. They're using advanced encryption, protecting all transactions. Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained perfect defensive coverage while supporting sophisticated financial operations. Their coordination demonstrated years of specialized training in protecting sensitive activities. Marcus, status on their transaction patterns, he asked. Multiple secure channels active, Marcus confirmed. They're accessing international networks, moving significant assets. A change in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun implementing new protocols, his movements showing practiced efficiency. Multiple encrypted channels online, Sarah reported. Atlas shows coordinated transactions. They're conducting major banking operations. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted more specialized equipment being integrated into their infrastructure. The cartel had created a complete financial command center, protected by military-grade security. James, Marcus's voice carried, fresh analysis. They're accessing major international networks. These aren't small transactions. Connor studied the growing complexity of the cartel's operation while maintaining his casual observation. Every detail showed professional planning, from their tactical positioning to their sophisticated financial systems. But he had seen operations like this before, and he knew every perfect plan had its vulnerabilities. The stadium's massive screens flashed with highlight reels as Connor processed the intelligence. The cartel had built something impressive, combining military expertise with professional banking capabilities. But they had made one critical mistake. They never expected a former Delta Force operative to be analyzing their every move, finding the weaknesses in their perfect operation. Evening shadows lengthened across the stadium's upper levels as Connor detected a shift in the cartel's operational patterns. Their security teams had begun implementing tighter control measures, restricting access to certain service corridors. "Marcus, what's Atlas showing on the restricted zones?" he asked quietly. "3 new containment areas established," Marcus responded. "They're setting up some kind of specialized equipment, heavy power draw, advanced cooling systems." Through the crowd, Connor spotted Vega, directing a technical team near one of the secured areas. The financial officer's gestures showed growing urgency. "Sarah, can Atlas read their new hardware?" he asked. "High-performance servers," she replied. "Similar signatures to what we saw during major cryptocurrency operations. They're building serious processing power." Connor maintained his casual observation while analyzing the cartel's expanding infrastructure. Their operation had evolved beyond simple financial transactions, suggesting something more ambitious. Multiple teams deploying quantum-resistant encryption modules, Marcus reported. Atlas Thermal shows military-grade security systems being installed. Dominguez's voice carried across the VIP section as he consulted with his technical advisors. The cartel leader's satisfaction was evident, but Connor detected growing tension in his security team's movements. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh. "Intelligence. Atlas just picked up new communication protocols. They're implementing some kind of distributed processing network." Connor watched another group of cartel operators secure additional access points. Their tactical awareness and equipment handling showed extensive training in protecting sensitive technical operations. "Marcus, status on their processing capabilities?" he asked. "Massive computational power," Marcus confirmed. "They're setting up infrastructure for major blockchain operations." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor caught glimpses of more specialized hardware being moved into position. The cartel's technical teams worked with professional efficiency, their movements showing years of experience with advanced systems. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their power consumption?" he asked. "Multiple dedicated circuits," she responded. "They're drawing enough electricity to run a small data center." A sudden change in radio traffic drew Connor's attention. The cartel's communication patterns had shifted, implementing new security measures around their technical infrastructure. Movement in the restricted zones, Marcus reported. Atlas shows multiple teams configuring advanced processing units. Whatever they're building, it's serious computing power. Connor studied Ramirez's interaction with the technical teams. The financial officer's expertise was evident in his instructions, but his tactical awareness never wavered. They're not just moving money, Connor observed quietly. They're creating something bigger. Sarah's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms these systems suggest major cryptocurrency operations. Through the crowd, Connor spotted more specialized equipment being integrated into their infrastructure. The cartel had transformed sections of the stadium into a sophisticated technical operations center. James, Marcus's voice carried fresh analysis. They're bringing online some kind of distributed ledger system, military-grade security protocols. Dominguez's security team adjusted their formation again, responding to predetermined signals. Their tactical coordination demonstrated years of professional training in protecting high-value technical assets. Multiple teams establishing secured processing zones, Sarah reported. Atlas shows coordinated deployment of quantum computing hardware. Connor watched the cartel's operation with growing understanding. Every piece of equipment, every security measure served a specific purpose in their plan. Marcus, status on their encryption systems, he asked. Advanced protocols active, Marcus responded. They're using quantum-resistant algorithms, professional security measures. A shift in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun implementing new technical protocols, his movements showing practiced efficiency with advanced systems. Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from their processing units? He asked. Massive computational operations, she replied. They're running complex blockchain calculations, professional mining protocols. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor observed how the cartel had positioned their forces to protect critical technical infrastructure. Movement at the service entrance, Marcus reported. Additional quantum computing modules being deployed. Atlas. Thermal shows specialized cooling systems. Their installation procedures demonstrated professional expertise. Connor maintained his surveillance while processing the sophisticated nature of the cartel's operation. The integration of quantum computing and advanced blockchain systems suggested something beyond traditional financial crime. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh intelligence. Atlas just picked up new processing patterns. They're implementing some kind of distributed quantum network. Dominguez's technical teams suddenly increased their activity, responding to some predetermined signal. Their coordination showed years of experience with sophisticated computing systems. Multiple secure channels active, Marcus reported. They're establishing quantum encrypted communications, military-grade protocols. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of technical discussion between Vega and his specialists. Their expertise with advanced computing was evident, but their tactical communication showed professional training. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their quantum operations? He asked. Significant processing power, she responded. They're running complex cryptographic calculations. Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained perfect defensive coverage while supporting sophisticated technical operations. Their coordination demonstrated years of specialized training in protecting quantum computing infrastructure. Marcus, status on their processing nodes? he asked. Multiple systems online, Marcus confirmed. They're conducting distributed quantum calculations. A change in the crowd's movement patterns drew Connor's attention back to the restricted zones. The cartel's security teams had implemented tighter control measures around their technical assets. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their quantum signatures? He asked. Professional computing protocols, she replied. They're using advanced algorithms, military-grade security. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more specialized equipment being integrated into their operation. The cartel had created a complete quantum computing center beneath the stadium's legitimate activities. Multiple processing nodes active, Marcus reported. Atlas shows coordinated operations. They're running serious quantum calculations. Connor studied Dominguez's interaction with his technical advisors. The cartel leader's satisfaction showed in every gesture, but his tactical awareness remained perfect. They're using quantum computing for something specific, Connor observed quietly. This isn't random cryptocurrency mining. Sarah's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms. These calculations suggest targeted blockchain operations. A change in the cartel's communication patterns drew his attention. Their technical teams had implemented additional security measures, protecting quantum processing systems. Marcus, status on their computational infrastructure? Connor asked. Complete operational capability, Marcus responded. They can run complex quantum algorithms, professional cryptographic protocols. Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more specialized equipment being deployed. The cartel's operation had evolved beyond simple computing, becoming a sophisticated quantum processing hub. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh analysis. Atlas is detecting significant quantum calculations. They're targeting specific blockchain networks. Connor watched Ramirez coordinate with his quantum specialists, the financial officer's expertise showing in every instruction. Multiple processing channels active, Marcus reported. They're conducting simultaneous quantum operations, professional calculation protocols. The cartel's operators maintained perfect security while supporting the advanced computing activities. A sudden shift in technical operations drew Connor's attention to the secured zones. The cartel's quantum systems were reaching full capacity, their processing power evident in the growing heat signatures. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their computational security? He asked. Military-grade protection, she responded. They're using advanced quantum encryption, professional security protocols. Through the crowd, Connor observed how the cartel had positioned their forces to protect critical quantum infrastructure. Movement at the processing centers, Marcus reported. Additional quantum modules coming online. Atlas shows increased computational activity. Their activation procedures demonstrated professional expertise. Connor maintained his surveillance while processing the sophisticated nature of the cartel's operation. Every system, every position supported their quantum computing activities. With military precision. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh intelligence. Atlas just picked up new calculation patterns. They're targeting major cryptocurrency networks. Dominguez's security team implemented another formation adjustment, their tactical awareness showing years of professional training. Multiple teams securing quantum zones, Marcus reported. Atlas shows coordinated deployment. They're protecting critical processing nodes. Connor watched another group of cartel operators check their equipment, their movements showing extensive experience. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of technical discussion between Vega and his quantum team. The financial officer's expertise was evident in his instructions, but his tactical communication showed military training. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their processing protocols?" he asked. "Professional security measures," she responded. "They're using quantum encryption, protecting all calculations." Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained perfect defensive coverage while supporting sophisticated quantum operations. Their coordination demonstrated years of specialized training in protecting sensitive computational activities. "Marcus, status on their quantum patterns?" he asked. "Multiple secure channels active?" Marcus confirmed. "They're accessing blockchain networks, running targeted calculations." A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun implementing new quantum protocols, his movements showing practiced efficiency. "Multiple encrypted channels online," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows coordinated processing. They're conducting major cryptocurrency operations." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted more specialized equipment being integrated into their infrastructure. The cartel had created a complete quantum computing center protected by military-grade security. "James," Marcus's voice carried fresh analysis. "They're targeting specific blockchain vulnerabilities. These aren't random calculations." Connor studied the growing complexity of the cartel's operation while maintaining his casual observation. Every detail showed professional planning, from their tactical positioning to their sophisticated quantum systems. But he had seen operations like this before, during his Delta Force days, and he knew every perfect plan had its vulnerabilities. The stadium's massive screens flashed with team highlights as Connor processed the intelligence. The cartel had built something impressive, combining military expertise with advanced quantum computing capabilities. But they had made one critical mistake. They never expected someone with classified quantum warfare experience to be analyzing their every move. Finding the weaknesses in their perfect operation, darkness gathered in the stadium's upper levels as Connor detected subtle changes in the cartel's operational rhythm. Their security teams had begun implementing what appeared to be final preparations, their movements carrying new urgency. "Marcus, what's Atlas picking up from their command center?" he asked quietly. "Increased activity across all channels," Marcus responded. "They're running final system checks. Whatever they're planning, it's approaching execution phase." Through the crowd, Connor spotted Vega conferring intensely with his technical team. The financial officer's gestures showed growing impatience. "Sarah, can Atlas track their equipment status?" he asked. "All systems showing ready," she replied. "Quantum processors at full capacity, defensive grids active. They're locked and loaded." Connor maintained his casual observation while analyzing the tension building in the cartel's movements. Their operation was transitioning from setup to activation, suggesting imminent action. "Multiple teams finalizing positions," Marcus reported. "Atlas shows increased radio traffic, encrypted channels lighting up across all sectors." Dominguez's voice carried an edge of anticipation as he spoke with his lieutenants. The cartel leader's confidence remained absolute, but Connor noticed his security detail had shifted to aggressive stance patterns. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh urgency. "Atlas just detected power spikes in their quantum systems. They're spinning up for major processing." Connor watched another group of cartel operators conduct final equipment checks. Their movements showed the controlled precision of combat veterans preparing for action. "Marcus, status on their network activity?" he asked. "Heavy data flow," Marcus confirmed. "They're accessing multiple international systems, military-grade encryption in place." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor caught glimpses of more technical teams making final adjustments. The cartel specialists worked with professional efficiency, their focus absolute. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their power?" "Consumption," he asked. "Critical levels," she responded. "They're drawing maximum current to all systems." A sudden burst of encrypted communications drew Connor's attention. The cartel's command channels had come alive with coordinated traffic. "Activity spiking in all sectors," Marcus reported. "Atlas shows systematic activation of quantum processors. They're bringing everything online simultaneously." Connor studied the interaction between Ramirez and his security teams. The financial officer's expertise showed in his rapid-fire instructions, but his tactical awareness never wavered. "They're not just testing," Connor observed quietly. "This is mission initiation." Sarah's voice carried agreement. "Atlas confirms. All indicators suggest operational countdown." Through the crowd, Connor spotted more cartel operators moving to final positions. They had transformed the stadium into a sophisticated command center, every system primed for action. "James!" Marcus's voice carried fresh analysis. "They're implementing some kind of staged protocol, all teams coordinating on encrypted frequencies." Dominguez's protection detail adjusted their formation again, their movements showing increased combat readiness. "Security teams establishing final perimeter," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows coordinated deployment, maximum defensive posture." Their tactical positioning demonstrated years of professional training. Connor observed the cartel's operation with growing intensity. Every position, every system served a specific purpose in their imminent action. "Marcus, status on their quantum processes?" he asked. "Full computational power," Marcus responded. "They're running complex algorithms, targeting multiple blockchain networks." A change in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun rapid-fire system checks, his movements showing the urgency of final preparation. "Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from their quantum cores?" he asked. "Maximum processing load," she replied. "They're executing some kind of coordinated attack protocol." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor noted how the cartel had positioned their forces for immediate action. "Movement at all access points," Marcus reported. "Teams confirming final positions. Atlas Thermal shows complete coverage of critical zones." Their deployment showed perfect tactical awareness. Connor maintained his surveillance while processing the accelerating pace of cartel operations. The synchronization of multiple systems suggested a carefully planned sequence about to unfold. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh intelligence. "Atlas just picked up new command protocols. They're initiating some kind of timed sequence." Dominguez's technical team suddenly increased their activity, their movements showing practiced precision. "All systems reporting ready," Marcus reported. "They're implementing final security measures, everything locked down tight." The cartel's operators maintained perfect coordination during critical preparation. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of tactical communication between Vega and his specialists. Their expertise with advanced systems was evident, but their combat awareness showed in every movement. "Sarah, "What's Atlas showing for their activation sequence?" he asked. "Professional implementation," she responded. "They're bringing systems online in precise order." Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained perfect security while conducting final checks. Their coordination demonstrated years of specialized training in complex operations. "Marcus, status on their command protocols?" he asked. "Multiple channels active," Marcus confirmed. "They're synchronizing all teams for coordinated action." A shift in crowd dynamics drew Connor's attention back to the secured zones. The cartel's tactical teams had implemented maximum security around critical systems. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their command signatures?" he asked. "Professional. Protocols active," she replied. "They're using advanced encryption for all communications." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more technical teams conducting final system checks. The cartel had created a complete operational center, every element primed for action. "Multiple teams confirming ready status," Marcus reported. "Atlas shows coordinated preparation. All systems go." Connor studied Dominguez's interaction with his command staff. The cartel leader's satisfaction showed in every gesture, but his combat awareness remained razor-sharp. "They're about to move," Connor observed quietly. "Every indicator shows imminent action." Sarah's voice carried agreement. "Atlas confirms. All systems show activation preparation." A change in the cartel's communication patterns drew his attention. Their tactical teams had implemented final security measures, protecting critical systems. "Marcus, status on their operational readiness?" Connor asked. "Complete preparation confirmed," Marcus responded. "They can initiate on command. All protocols in place." Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more teams finalizing positions. The cartel's operation had reached peak readiness, every element prepared for coordinated action. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh analysis. "Atlas is detecting systematic activation. They're bringing all systems to ready status." Connor watched Ramirez coordinate with his technical specialists, the financial officer's expertise showing in every instruction. "Final checks completing," Marcus reported. "They're conducting simultaneous system verification, everything showing green." The cartel's operators maintained perfect security during crucial preparation. A sudden shift in technical operations drew Connor's attention to the control zones. The cartel's systems were reaching maximum readiness, their activation sequence nearly complete. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their final status?" he asked. "Full operational capability," she responded. "They're using advanced protocols, everything primed for action." Through the crowd, Connor observed how the cartel had positioned their forces for immediate response. "Movement at all control points," Marcus reported. "Teams confirming ready status. Atlas shows complete tactical preparation." Their coordination procedures demonstrated professional expertise. Connor maintained his surveillance while processing the sophisticated nature of the cartel's operation. Every position, every system supported their imminent action with military precision. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh intelligence. "Atlas just picked up final activation patterns. They're establishing complete operational readiness." Dominguez's security team implemented another formation adjustment, their combat awareness showing years of professional training. "All teams reporting ready," Marcus reported. "Atlas shows coordinated deployment. They're prepared for immediate action. Connor watched another group of cartel operators verify positions, their movements showing absolute focus. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of technical discussion between Vega and his command team. The financial officer's expertise was evident in his instructions, but his tactical communication showed combat readiness. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their final protocols?" he asked. "Professional measures active," she responded. "They're using advanced security, everything locked down tight." Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained perfect defensive coverage while conducting final preparation. Their coordination demonstrated years of specialized training in complex operations. "Marcus, status on their activation sequence?" he asked. "All systems ready," Marcus confirmed. "They're prepared for immediate execution, running final checks." A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun implementing final protocols, his movements showing practiced efficiency. "Multiple systems at ready status," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows coordinated preparation. They're conducting final verification." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted more teams conducting last-minute checks. The cartel had created a complete operational center, protected by military-grade security. "James," Marcus's voice carried fresh analysis. "They're completing final preparation. These aren't test procedures anymore." Connor studied the culmination of the cartel's operation while maintaining his casual observation. Every detail showed professional planning, from their tactical positioning to their sophisticated technical systems. But he had seen operations like this before during his classified missions, and he knew the moment of maximum readiness was also the moment of maximum vulnerability. The stadium's massive screens flashed with final pre-game content as Connor processed the intelligence. The cartel had built something impressive, combining military expertise with advanced technical capabilities. But they had made one critical mistake. They never expected someone with extensive experience in exploiting precisely this kind of operational vulnerability to be analyzing their every move, preparing to strike at their moment of supposed perfection. Stadium lights created stark shadows as Connor initiated his first counter-move. The cartel's operation had reached peak readiness, the perfect time to exploit their focus on execution rather than protection. "Marcus, verify our infiltration package," he whispered. "All systems prepped," Marcus confirmed. "Custom malware, loaded, targeting their quantum processors, just waiting on your signal." Through the crowd, Connor tracked Dominguez's growing anticipation. The cartel leader kept checking his watch, unaware that his perfect timing would work against him. "Sarah, status on our breach point?" he asked. "3 vulnerabilities confirmed," she replied. "Their power distribution network shows gaps. We can trigger selective overloads without full system failure." Connor began his casual movement toward the first target zone, his decades of covert operations experience showing in his perfectly natural demeanor. "First package ready," Marcus reported. "Modified quantum algorithm will look like routine processing until it hits their core systems." Their months of preparation were about to pay off. Vega's voice carried traces of excitement as he coordinated with his technical team. The financial officer's expertise had created sophisticated defenses, but Connor had spent years penetrating exactly this kind of security. "James," Sarah's voice carried professional focus. "Atlas shows their quantum encryption shifting patterns, perfect timing for our injection sequence. Connor observed another group of cartel operators conducting final checks, their attention completely absorbed in preparation. "Marcus, status on our timing," he asked. "Optimal window approaching," Marcus confirmed. "Their system verification protocols will mask our initial penetration." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more technical teams focused on their equipment. The cartel's specialists remained unaware that their professional efficiency made them predictable. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their power grid?" he asked. "Fluctuations matching our models," she responded. "We can spike, select nodes without triggering their alerts." A burst of encrypted communications drew Connor's attention. The cartel's command channels were alive with final coordination. "Package 1 moving," Marcus reported. "Quantum noise matching their processing patterns. They won't detect the infiltration until it's too late." Connor studied the interaction between Ramirez and his security teams. The financial officer's rapid-fire instructions created perfect cover for initial system penetration. "First breach successful," Connor noted quietly. "Their focus on execution is blinding them to infiltration." Sarah's voice carried agreement. "Atlas confirms, no detection of our quantum intrusion." Through the crowd, Connor spotted more cartel operators moving to final positions. Their perfect tactical deployment had created exploitable patterns in their security coverage. "James," Marcus's voice carried precise timing. "Second package, ready for injection." Their verification sequence provides ideal masking. Dominguez's protection detail maintained their practiced formation, unaware that their professional precision made them vulnerable. "Infiltration proceeding on schedule," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows our code integrating with their quantum processes. No anomaly detection." Connor observed the cartel's operation with experienced understanding. Every system, every position they'd created followed predictable patterns he'd exploited before. "Marcus, status on core penetration?" he asked. "Reaching critical mass," Marcus responded. "Our modified algorithms are spreading through their network." A change in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun final system checks, creating perfect cover for deeper infiltration. "Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from their quantum cores?" he asked. "Processing load increasing," she replied. "They're attributing it to their own activation sequence." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor noted how the cartel's forces had positioned themselves exactly as predicted. "Third package ready," Marcus reported. "Targeting their communication encryption. Atlas Thermal shows optimal injection point." Their preparation was paying off perfectly. Connor maintained his surveillance while directing the sophisticated infiltration. Years of experience with quantum warfare had taught him how to exploit maximum readiness. "James?" Sarah's voice carried precise timing. "Atlas just confirmed successful integration. Our code is spreading through their command protocols." Dominguez's technical teams remained focused on their activation sequence, creating more opportunities for system penetration. "Fourth package moving," Marcus reported, "targeting their blockchain interfaces. Complete coverage of critical nodes." The cartel's operators maintained their predictable patterns. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of tactical communication between Vega and his specialists. Their expertise with advanced systems made them follow standard security protocols, and protocols he'd learned to bypass. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing for our infiltration depth?" he asked. "Maximum penetration achieved," she responded. We've compromised their entire quantum network. Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained their rehearsed security while his attack spread through their systems. Their coordination highlighted exploitable patterns in their defense. "Marcus, status on our kill switches?" he asked. "All in place," Marcus confirmed. "We can shut down any system at your command." A shift in crowd dynamics provided cover as Connor moved to his next position. The cartel's tactical teams remained focused on their own security protocols. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their system status?" he asked. "No detection of our presence," she replied. "They're completely focused on their own activation sequence." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more technical teams conducting final checks. The cartel had created a perfect operation, perfectly vulnerable to properly planned infiltration. "Multiple systems compromised," Marcus reported. "We've achieved complete penetration of their network." Connor studied Dominguez's growing anticipation. The cartel leader's satisfaction showed his complete unawareness of the infiltration already spreading through his systems. "Time to execution?" Connor asked quietly. 2 minutes to their activation." Sarah's voice carried professional focus. "All our systems are in place." A change in the cartel's communication patterns drew his attention. Their tactical teams had implemented final security measures, unaware they were already compromised. "Marcus, status on our override capabilities?" Connor asked. "Complete control established," Marcus responded. "We can manipulate any system at will." Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more teams finalizing positions. The cartel's operation had reached perfect readiness, making it perfectly vulnerable. "James," Sarah's voice carried fresh confirmation. "Atlas shows total system penetration. We own their entire network." Connor watched Ramirez coordinate with his technical specialists, the financial officer's expertise unable to detect the infiltration already present. "Final verification complete," Marcus reported. "All our systems showing green. We're ready to move on your command." The cartel's operators maintained their focus on their own protocols. A sudden shift in technical operations drew Connor's attention to the control zones. The cartel systems were reaching maximum readiness, exactly as planned. "Sarah, what's Atlas showing for our attack readiness?" he asked. "All packages primed," she responded. "We can execute at any moment." Through the crowd, Connor observed how the cartel had positioned their forces exactly according to standard doctrine. "Position confirmed," Marcus reported. "Ready for simultaneous system shutdown. Atlas shows optimal targeting." Their coordination procedures made them predictable. Connor maintained his surveillance while preparing for precise action. Every position, every system the cartel had established would work against them. "James," Sarah's voice carried final confirmation. "Atlas shows perfect infiltration. We're ready to take control of everything." Dominguez's security team implemented another formation adjustment, their training making them follow expected patterns. "All kill switches armed," Marcus reported. "We can initiate complete shutdown on your command." Connor watched another group of cartel operators verify their positions, unaware of their vulnerability. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of technical discussion between Vega and his command team. The financial officer's expertise couldn't detect the sophisticated infiltration already in place. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on our attack vectors?" he asked. "All systems optimized," she responded. "Maximum impact on execution," Connor observed, how the cartel's operators maintained their perfect defensive coverage while his attack systems waited in place. Their coordination demonstrated why perfect security often meant perfect vulnerability. "Marcus, timing to execution," he asked. 60 seconds, Marcus confirmed. "Everything's ready for full system collapse." A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had begun implementing final protocols, creating ideal cover for attack initiation. "Multiple targets locked," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows perfect positioning for simultaneous strike." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted more teams conducting last-minute checks. The cartel had created a complete operational center, about to experience complete failure. "James," Marcus's voice carried final confirmation, 30 seconds to their activation sequence. All our systems primed for response." Connor studied the culmination of his infiltration while maintaining his casual observation. Every detail of the cartel's operation would amplify the coming collapse, but his experience with exactly this kind of warfare had taught him to wait for perfect timing. The stadium's massive screens flashed with final pre-game content as Connor prepared for action. The cartel had built something impressive, making it the perfect target for properly planned infiltration. They had made one critical mistake. They never expected someone with classified quantum warfare experience to have already compromised their entire operation, waiting for the perfect moment to demonstrate why you never mock a Delta Force veteran. Evening shadows deepened across the stadium as Connor initiated his attack sequence. Years of covert operations had taught him that timing was everything, especially when bringing down sophisticated technical operations. "All teams, execute Protocol Sierra," he ordered quietly. "Trigger the quantum cascade." Marcus's voice carried cold precision. First package activated. Their processing cores are about to experience total collapse. Through the crowd, Connor watched realization spread across Vega's face as the first systems began failing. The financial officer's expertise let him understand exactly what was happening, but far too late to stop it. "Sarah, status on their quantum network?" he asked. "Complete breakdown initiated," she replied. "Their encryption is unraveling across all channels." Connor maintained his casual position while monitoring the cascading failures. The cartel's perfect operation was dissolving in ways their military training never prepared them for. "Multiple systems crashing," Marcus reported. "Their quantum processors are overloading, complete computational failure spreading through the network." Dominguez's voice carried sudden urgency as he demanded status reports from his technical team. The cartel leader's confidence had vanished, replaced by growing panic. "James," Sarah's voice showed professional satisfaction. "Atlas confirms total encryption collapse. Their secure communications are completely exposed." Connor observed another group of cartel operators frantically trying to stabilize their failing systems. Their training meant nothing against properly designed quantum warfare. "Marcus, status on their blockchain operations?" he asked. "Complete shutdown," Marcus confirmed. "All their financial transactions are frozen." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more technical teams realizing the extent of their failure. The cartel's specialists worked desperately to counter an attack they couldn't even detect. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their power grid?" he asked. "Systematic failure," she responded. "Critical nodes are overloading exactly as planned." A burst of panicked communications drew Connor's attention. The cartel's command channels had dissolved into chaos. Second cascade initiating, Marcus reported. Their backup systems are triggering exactly as predicted. Each recovery attempt spreads the collapse further. Connor studied the interaction between Ramirez and his security teams. The financial officer's expertise was useless against an attack designed to exploit quantum computational patterns. Perfect systemic failure, Connor noted quietly. Every defense triggers another collapse. Sarah's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms. Their entire network is eating itself. Through the crowd, Connor spotted more cartel operators, realizing their sophisticated operation was disintegrating. Their perfect technical infrastructure had become their greatest vulnerability. James, Marcus's voice carried precise timing. Third cascade package activated. Their quantum cores are reaching critical failure. Dominguez's protection detail maintained their formation, but Connor detected growing tension in their movements. Complete communication breakdown spreading. Zara reported. Atlas shows their encryption failing across all frequencies. They're completely exposed. Connor observed the cartel's operation with cold satisfaction. Every system, every security measure they'd created was working against them exactly as planned. Marcus, status on their financial networks? He asked. Total lockdown achieved, Marcus responded. All their transactions are frozen, accounts exposed. A change in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had shifted from system recovery to desperate damage control. Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from their command protocols? He asked. Complete disruption, she replied. They've lost control of their entire infrastructure. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor noted how the cartel's forces had lost their perfect coordination. Fourth cascade initiating, Marcus reported, targeting their remaining secure channels. Total communications collapse imminent. Their sophisticated operation was falling apart exactly as designed. Connor maintained his surveillance while directing the systematic destruction. Years of quantum warfare experience had taught him how to create perfect, catastrophic failure. James, Sarah's voice, carried precise confirmation. Atlas shows complete network dissolution. They're losing everything. Dominguez's technical teams scrambled to implement emergency protocols, unaware that every recovery attempt accelerated their collapse. Final cascade moving, Marcus reported. Targeting their core infrastructure. Complete shutdown approaching. The cartel's operators watched helplessly as their systems died. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of panicked communication between Vega and his specialists. Their expertise with advanced systems meant nothing against properly designed quantum attacks. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for system status? He asked. Total failure confirmed, she responded. They've lost control of everything. Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained their positions while their technical infrastructure crumbled. Their training provided no defense against this kind of warfare. Marcus, status on their recovery attempts? He asked. Each attempt spreads the collapse, Marcus confirmed. They're destroying themselves trying to fix it. A shift in crowd dynamics covered Connor's movement to his next position. The cartel's tactical teams were losing their professional coordination as panic spread. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their command structure? He asked. Complete breakdown, she replied. They've lost all operational control. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more technical teams realizing the full extent of their failure. The cartel had created perfect infrastructure, perfectly vulnerable to systematic destruction. Cascade effect spreading, Marcus reported. Their entire network is collapsing simultaneously. Connor studied Dominguez's growing desperation. The cartel leader's confidence had been replaced by the realization that his perfect operation was dissolving beyond recovery. Time to complete failure, Connor asked quietly. 2 minutes to total shutdown, Sarah's voice carried professional focus. Nothing they can do will stop it now. A change in the cartel's communication patterns drew his attention. Their tactical teams had lost all secure channels, forced to use compromised frequencies. Marcus, status on their remaining systems? Connor asked. Final collapse approaching, Marcus responded. Complete shutdown is inevitable. Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more teams trying desperately to save their operation. The cartel's perfect readiness had become perfect vulnerability. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh confirmation. Atlas shows systematic destruction spreading. They're losing every system simultaneously. Connor watched Ramirez coordinate with his technical specialists, the financial officer's expertise, useless against quantum cascade failure. Recovery attempts failing, Marcus reported. Each intervention accelerates the collapse. They're destroying themselves. The cartel's operators could only watch their destruction. A sudden shift in technical operations drew Connor's attention to the control zones. The cartel's systems were experiencing total failure exactly as designed. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for remaining functionality? He asked. Nothing operational, she responded. Complete shutdown achieved across all systems. Through the crowd, Connor observed how the cartel's forces had lost all tactical coherence. Confirmation received, Marcus reported. Total network. Collapse complete. Atlas shows no remaining operational capability. Their coordination had dissolved into chaos. Connor maintained his surveillance while monitoring the final destruction. Every position, every system the cartel had established had contributed to their own collapse. James, Sarah's voice carried final confirmation. Atlas shows complete operational failure. They've lost everything. Dominguez's security team implemented desperate measures, their training useless against this kind of attack. All systems confirmed dead, Marcus reported. Total destruction of their entire infrastructure. Connor watched another group of cartel operators realize the extent of their failure. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of panicked discussion between Vega and his command team. The financial officer's expertise couldn't prevent the complete dissolution of their operation. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their status? He asked. Absolute failure, she responded. No systems remaining operational. Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained their positions while their entire infrastructure died. Their coordination had dissolved, leaving only shocked realization. Marcus, confirm final status, he asked. Complete destruction achieved, Marcus confirmed. Their operation is finished. A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had stopped trying to save their systems, accepting total failure. Network confirmation received, Sarah reported. Atlas shows complete shutdown across all infrastructure. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted more teams accepting their inevitable collapse. The cartel had created a sophisticated operation, now reduced to worthless hardware. James, Marcus's voice carried final confirmation. Destruction sequence complete. Nothing left operational. Connor studied the culmination of his attack while maintaining his casual observation. Every detail of the cartel's operation had contributed to their perfect destruction. His experience with quantum warfare had taught him how to create absolute systemic failure. The stadium's massive screens flashed with team content as Connor confirmed total success. The cartel had built something impressive, making its complete destruction even more satisfying. They had made one critical mistake. They never expected a Delta Force veteran to destroy their entire operation without ever pulling a trigger, demonstrating why sophisticated technical infrastructure can be more vulnerable than any physical target. Stadium lighting caught the growing panic in Dominguez's expression as Connor initiated the final phase. With their sophisticated systems destroyed, the cartel's leadership was exposed and vulnerable. All teams, execute Protocol Delta, he ordered quietly. Begin targeted takedown. Marcus's voice acknowledged. Strike teams moving into position. Local law enforcement has been quietly notified. Through the crowd, Connor watched realization spread through the cartel's ranks. Their perfect operation had been reduced to chaos, leaving them without secure communications or tactical coordination. Sarah, status on their remaining security? He asked. Completely disorganized, she replied. Their defensive formations are breaking down. They can't maintain coherent coverage. Connor maintained his calculated observation while emergency response units began quiet deployment around the stadium. Years of combat experience had taught him that tactical superiority meant controlling the timing of engagement. Multiple teams in position, Marcus reported. SWAT units have established containment zones. They're waiting for our signal. Dominguez's voice carried barely controlled panic as he tried organizing his scattered forces. The cartel leader's military training meant nothing without his command infrastructure. James, Sarah's voice showed professional focus. Atlas confirms law enforcement deployment complete. We've got full coverage of all exit points. Connor observed another group of cartel operators trying to establish basic tactical positions. Their training dissolved into disorganization without secure communications. Marcus, status on containment? He asked. Complete coverage, Marcus confirmed. Every escape route is controlled. They're trapped in their own fortress. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more security teams losing tactical cohesion. The cartel's operators worked desperately to maintain basic formation without central coordination. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their movements? He asked. Complete disarray, she responded. They can't establish effective defensive positions. A burst of frantic radio traffic drew Connor's attention. The cartel's forces were reduced to using unsecured channels, exposing their growing desperation. Strike teams confirming ready, Marcus reported. Tactical units are in final position. Complete containment established on all levels. Now, Stein. Connor studied the interaction between Ramirez and his security teams. The financial officer's expertise with sophisticated systems meant nothing in pure tactical combat. Perfect tactical advantage, Connor noted quietly. They're completely exposed without their technical infrastructure. Sarah's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms their defensive capabilities are critically compromised. Through the crowd, Connor spotted more cartel operators realizing the extent of their vulnerability. Their perfect military training had become useless without command and control systems. James, Marcus's voice carried precise timing. Law enforcement units report final positions secured. Ready to execute on your command. Dominguez's protection detail maintained basic formation, but their professional coordination had dissolved. Complete tactical superiority established, Sarah reported. Atlas shows their security teams are isolated, unable to implement coordinated defense. Connor observed the cartel's operation with cold calculation. Every position, every remaining security measure they attempted, played directly into carefully planned containment. Marcus, status on strike. Team readiness, he asked. All units prepared, Marcus responded. They can execute synchronized takedown on command. A change in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had shifted from technical concerns to desperate tactical planning. Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from their remaining forces? He asked. Uncoordinated movement, she replied. They're trying to establish basic defensive positions without success. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor noted how the cartel's forces had lost all tactical advantage. Strike teams awaiting signal, Marcus reported. Law enforcement units have established complete coverage, perfect containment of all targets. Their sophisticated operation had become a perfect trap. Connor maintained his surveillance while coordinating the final takedown. Years of combat experience had taught him how to exploit enemy disorganization for maximum effect. James, Sarah's voice carried precise confirmation. Atlas shows optimal strike conditions. They're completely vulnerable. Dominguez's remaining teams scrambled to establish basic security, unaware that every position they took played into planned containment. Final strike positions confirmed, Marcus reported. All law enforcement units ready for synchronized action. The cartel's operators had lost all tactical initiative. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of panicked communication between Vega and his security specialists. Their military training offered no advantage against properly planned tactical containment. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for their positions? He asked. Complete tactical exposure, she responded. They've lost all defensive coherence. Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained basic stances while their tactical advantage disappeared. Their training provided no defense against coordinated containment. Marcus, status on strike team coverage? He asked. Perfect positioning, Marcus confirmed. Every target is contained and isolated. A shift in crowd dynamics covered the final movement of tactical units into position. The cartel's security teams had lost all strategic awareness as panic spread. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on their tactical status? He asked. Total vulnerability, she replied. They've lost all effective defensive capability. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more security teams, realizing their complete exposure. The cartel had lost all tactical superiority, reduced to basic survival instincts. Strike teams, report ready, Marcus reported. Law enforcement units have established perfect containment coverage. Connor studied Dominguez's growing tactical desperation. The cartel leader's military training had been rendered useless by complete systemic collapse. Time to execution? Connor asked quietly. Strike teams can initiate on your command. Sarah's voice carried professional focus. Maximum tactical advantage achieved. A change in the cartel's movement patterns drew his attention. Their security teams had lost all coordinated defensive capability, reduced to individual reaction. Marcus, status on containment positions? Connor asked. Complete coverage maintained, Marcus responded. Perfect tactical control established. Through the chaos of pre-game activities, Connor caught glimpses of more teams trying desperately to establish basic security. The cartel's tactical superiority had been reduced to disorganized individual effort. James, Sarah's voice carried. Fresh confirmation, Atlas shows optimal strike conditions maintained. Perfect execution window. Connor watched Ramirez attempt basic tactical coordination, the financial officer's military experience useless against proper containment strategy. Strike teams confirming positions, Marcus reported. All law enforcement units ready for simultaneous action. The cartel's operators had lost all strategic initiative. A sudden shift in security positions drew Connor's attention to remaining defensive points. The cartel's forces were experiencing complete tactical collapse, exactly as planned. Sarah, "What's Atlas showing for their defensive status?" he asked. "No effective coverage," she responded. "Complete vulnerability confirmed." Through the crowd, Connor observed how the cartel's forces had lost all strategic coherence. "Final confirmation received," Marcus reported. "Perfect tactical advantage established. Strike teams ready for synchronized takedown." Their coordination had dissolved into basic survival instinct. Connor maintained his surveillance while monitoring final strike positions. Every remaining cartel position had been contained and isolated for coordinated takedown. "James," Sarah's voice carried final confirmation. "Atlas shows complete tactical superiority, perfect strike conditions maintained. Dominguez's security team attempted basic defensive measures, their training useless against proper tactical containment. All strike teams in final position," Marcus reported. "Law enforcement units ready for immediate action." Connor watched another group of cartel operators realize their complete vulnerability. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of desperate discussion between Vega and his remaining security team. The financial officer's military experience couldn't prevent their total tactical exposure. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on containment status?" he asked. "Perfect coverage," she responded. "Complete tactical superiority maintained." Connor observed how the cartel's operators maintained basic positions while their strategic advantage disappeared. Their coordination had dissolved, leaving only individual defensive reaction. "Marcus, confirm strike readiness?" he asked. "All units prepared," Marcus confirmed. "Perfect execution conditions established." A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had stopped attempting coordinated defense, accepting complete tactical vulnerability. "Final positions confirmed," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows perfect containment coverage maintained." Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted more teams accepting their inevitable tactical collapse. The cartel had lost all strategic advantage, reduced to basic survival response. "James," Marcus's voice carried final confirmation. "Strike teams await your command. Perfect takedown conditions confirmed." Connor studied the culmination of tactical containment while maintaining his casual observation. Every detail of the cartel's remaining security had been neutralized and isolated. His combat experience had taught him how to create absolute tactical superiority. The stadium's massive screens flashed with final pre-game content as Connor prepared for synchronized strike initiation. The cartel had lost all strategic advantage, making their coordinated takedown inevitable. They had made one critical mistake. They never expected a Delta Force veteran to completely neutralize their tactical capability before they even realized. They were under attack, demonstrating why sophisticated military training means nothing without proper command and control. Stadium lights caught the flash of tactical units moving into final position as Connor initiated synchronized takedown. "Execute strike protocol," he ordered quietly. The stadium erupted in coordinated action as law enforcement teams emerged from concealed positions, catching the cartel's scattered forces completely off guard. "Multiple teams engaging," Marcus reported. "Perfect containment maintained. They have nowhere to run." Through the crowd, Connor watched shock spread across Dominguez's face as tactical units converged on his position. The cartel leader's protection detail tried mounting basic defense, but their disorganized response proved useless against professional containment. "Sarah, status on primary targets?" he asked. "All high-value subjects contained," she replied. "Strike teams have complete tactical control." Connor maintained his strategic position while coordinated takedown unfolded across multiple levels. Years of combat operations had taught him that proper execution meant controlling every phase of engagement. "Resistance in Sector 3, Marcus reported. "Local security team attempting basic defense. Strike units moving to neutralize." Vega's voice carried pure panic as tactical teams breached his security perimeter. The financial officer's military training dissolved into desperation. Without command support, "James," Sarah's voice showed professional focus. "Atlas confirms systematic target acquisition. All primary subjects being secured." Connor observed another group of cartel operators attempting disorganized resistance. Their tactical training meant nothing against perfectly coordinated strike teams. "Marcus, status on secondary targets?" he asked. "All contained," Marcus confirmed. "Law enforcement units have established complete control over response zones." Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more security teams being systematically neutralized. The cartel's operators found their individual combat skills useless against synchronized tactical response. "Sarah, what's Atlas reading on remaining resistance?" he asked. "Minimal effectiveness," she responded. "They can't establish coherent defense without coordination." A burst of desperate radio traffic filled unsecured channels as the cartel's forces realized their complete tactical isolation. "Strike teams report multiple subjects secured," Marcus reported. "Perfect execution maintained. They're completely overwhelmed by synchronized response." Connor studied the interaction between Ramirez and his remaining security as tactical units breached their position. The financial officer's expertise dissolved into panic as professional containment collapsed his defense. "Perfect tactical execution," Connor noted quietly. "They never expected coordinated response on this scale." Sarah's voice carried agreement. "Atlas confirms. Their individual training means nothing against synchronized takedown." Through the crowd, Connor spotted more cartel operators being systematically secured by strike teams. Their sophisticated military background proved worthless against properly planned tactical engagement. "James," Marcus's voice carried precise timing. "Law enforcement units report majority of targets contained. Resistance becoming isolated and ineffective." Dominguez's protection detail maintained basic defensive stance, but tactical teams easily penetrated their disorganized coverage. "Complete operational superiority established," Sarah reported. "Atlas shows remaining security elements being systematically Neutralized, no effective resistance remaining. Connor observed the cartel's collapse with cold satisfaction. Every position, every attempted defense played perfectly into coordinated tactical response. Marcus, status on resistance levels, he asked. Minimal and decreasing, Marcus responded. Strike teams are maintaining perfect execution protocols. A change in Vega's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had shifted from attempted defense to pure survival instinct. Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from remaining security elements? He asked. Complete tactical breakdown, she replied. They've lost all effective resistance capability. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor noted how law enforcement units maintained perfect coordination during systematic takedown. Strike teams. Report continued success, Marcus reported. Multiple high-value targets secured, remaining resistance becoming increasingly isolated. Their sophisticated operation had been reduced to individual desperate response. Connor maintained his surveillance while monitoring synchronized tactical execution. Years of combat experience had taught him how to recognize perfect operational collapse. James, Sarah's voice carried precise confirmation. Atlas shows continued, systematic neutralization. They're being completely overwhelmed. Dominguez's remaining security tried mounting basic defense, unaware that their disorganized response only made tactical targeting easier. Additional targets secured, Marcus reported. Strike teams maintaining perfect coordination, complete takedown proceeding as planned. The cartel's operators watched helplessly as their forces were systematically contained. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of panicked communication between Vega and his scattered security elements. Their military training offered no advantage against properly executed tactical response. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for remaining resistance? He asked. Completely ineffective, she responded. They've lost all defensive capability. Connor observed how strike teams maintained perfect coordination while neutralizing isolated cartel positions. Their tactical execution demonstrated textbook, synchronized response. Marcus, status on remaining targets? He asked. Being systematically secured, Marcus confirmed. Perfect containment protocols maintained throughout engagement. A shift in crowd dynamics covered continued tactical team movement as remaining security elements were neutralized. The cartel's operators had lost all combat effectiveness as coordinated response overwhelmed their positions. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on resistance status? He asked. Complete collapse, she replied. No organized opposition remaining. Through the rotating mass of spectators, Connor spotted more strike teams securing isolated cartel forces. Their sophisticated training meant nothing against properly executed tactical containment. Additional subjects contained, Marcus reported. Law enforcement units maintained perfect operational tempo. Systematic neutralization continuing. Connor studied Dominguez's complete tactical collapse. The cartel leader's military background proved worthless against synchronized professional response. Status on primary targets? Connor asked quietly. All high-value subjects secured. Sarah's voice carried professional focus. Perfect execution maintained throughout engagement. A change in the cartel's remaining defensive patterns drew his attention. Their security teams had lost all combat effectiveness, reduced to individual desperate response. Marcus, confirmation on containment status, Connor asked. Complete tactical control established, Marcus responded. Perfect operational superiority maintained. Through the chaos of coordinated takedown, Connor caught glimpses of more strike teams securing resistance points. The cartel's tactical superiority had been completely neutralized by synchronized response. James. Sarah's voice carried fresh confirmation. Atlas shows continued systematic target acquisition, perfect execution protocols. Connor watched Ramirez being secured by tactical units, the financial officer's military experience proving useless against proper containment strategy. Additional targets neutralized, Marcus reported. Strike teams maintaining perfect coordination, remaining resistance becoming completely isolated. The cartel's operators had lost all combat capability. A sudden shift in security positions drew Connor's attention to final resistance points. The cartel's forces were experiencing complete tactical neutralization exactly as planned. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for remaining opposition? He asked. No effective resistance, she responded. Complete operational superiority confirmed. Through the crowd, Connor observed how strike teams maintained perfect execution while securing isolated targets. Final confirmation received, Marcus reported. Systematic neutralization nearly complete. Perfect tactical control maintained. Their sophisticated training had been reduced to desperate individual response. Connor maintained his surveillance while monitoring continued synchronized takedown. Every remaining cartel position was being systematically secured by coordinated tactical units. James, Sarah's voice carried final confirmation. Atlas shows complete operational success. Perfect execution maintained throughout engagement. Dominguez's security team attempted last desperate resistance, their training useless against proper tactical response. Strike teams report mission nearly complete, Marcus reported. Law enforcement units maintaining perfect coordination. Connor watched another group of cartel operators being systematically contained. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of final desperate communication between Vega and his scattered security elements. The financial officer's military experience couldn't prevent their complete tactical neutralization. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on engagement status? He asked. Perfect execution, she responded. Complete operational superiority maintained. Connor observed how strike teams secured remaining cartel positions with textbook coordination. Their tactical response had reduced sophisticated opposition to isolated, desperate resistance. Marcus, confirm operational status? He asked. Mission nearly complete, Marcus confirmed. Perfect execution protocols maintained. A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had completely abandoned resistance, accepting inevitable tactical defeat. Final targets being secured, Sarah reported. Atlas shows perfect containment coverage throughout engagement. Through the pre-game chaos, Connor spotted strike teams completing systematic neutralization. The cartel had lost all combat effectiveness, reduced to individual desperate response. James, Marcus's voice carried final confirmation. Tactical units report mission success. Perfect operational execution confirmed. Connor studied the culmination of synchronized takedown while maintaining his strategic position. Every detail of the cartel's sophisticated operation had been systematically neutralized by proper tactical response. His combat experience had taught him how to create absolute operational superiority. The stadium's massive screens flashed with Final pre-game content as Connor confirmed complete mission success. The cartel had lost all combat effectiveness, making their systematic neutralization inevitable. They had made one critical mistake. They never expected a Delta Force veteran to completely overwhelm their sophisticated military training with perfectly executed tactical response, demonstrating why individual combat skills mean nothing against synchronized professional engagement. Stadium lights illuminated the aftermath of coordinated tactical response as Connor approached Dominguez's secured position. The cartel leader sat handcuffed, his perfect operation reduced to complete defeat. Final status report. Connor spoke quietly into his comm. All primary targets contained, Marcus confirmed. Law enforcement units have established complete site control. Perfect mission execution achieved. Through the controlled chaos of systematic cleanup, Connor studied the shock still evident on Vega's face. The financial officer's sophisticated systems lay in ruins. His military training proved worthless. Sarah, verification on seized equipment? He asked. All quantum processing units secured, she replied. Their entire technical infrastructure is under federal control. Connor maintained professional detachment while observing the systematic processing of high-value targets. Years of classified operations had taught him that proper mission completion meant thorough documentation. Evidence collection proceeding, Marcus reported. Federal teams are securing all technical components. Complete operational documentation underway. Ramirez's voice carried bitter resignation as federal agents conducted preliminary interrogation. The financial officer's expertise had been completely neutralized by precise tactical execution. James, Sarah's voice showed continued focus. Atlas confirms all systems secured. Their entire network is preserved for analysis. Connor observed another group of federal specialists documenting seized quantum equipment. Their methodical process would preserve every detail of the cartel's sophisticated operation. Marcus, status on data recovery? He asked. Complete preservation achieved, Marcus confirmed. All financial records and network logs have been secured. Through the rotating mass of law enforcement personnel, Connor spotted more technical teams cataloging the cartel's infrastructure. Federal specialists worked with practiced efficiency to document every aspect of their operation. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on secured systems? He asked. Full preservation, she responded. They can't delete or corrupt any evidence. A burst of coordinated activity drew Connor's attention as federal units implemented systematic site control. Evidence teams report continued success, Marcus reported. Perfect documentation protocols maintained. Every component is being properly preserved and catalogued. Connor studied the interaction between federal agents and detained cartel operators. Their sophisticated operation had been reduced to detailed evidence of criminal enterprise. Complete operational exposure. Connor noted quietly, everything they built becomes proof of their activities. Sarah's voice carried agreement. Atlas confirms their entire infrastructure is preserved intact. Through the crowd of tactical units, Connor spotted more federal teams securing technical evidence. The cartel's perfect system had become perfect documentation of their criminal network. James, Marcus's voice carried precise timing. Classified teams arriving for quantum system analysis. Complete technical preservation protocols initiated. Dominguez's security detail sat secured, while Federal agents documented their equipment and tactical gear. Evidence collection proceeding as planned, Sarah reported. Atlas shows systematic preservation of all operational components. Perfect documentation maintained. Connor observed the federal response with professional satisfaction. Every position, every system the cartel had created was being preserved as evidence of their activities. Marcus, status on technical documentation, he asked. Comprehensive coverage achieved, Marcus responded. All systems and equipment are being properly catalogued. A change in Vega's demeanor drew Connor's attention. The financial officer had shifted from shock to resignation as federal teams secured his sophisticated infrastructure. Sarah, what's Atlas detecting from their contained systems? He asked. Complete preservation, she replied. All operational data remains intact for analysis. Through the controlled chaos, Connor noted how federal units maintained perfect coordination during systematic evidence collection. Technical teams report continued success, Marcus reported. All quantum components secured. Comprehensive documentation, protocols in effect. Their sophisticated operation was being preserved in complete detail. Connor maintained his surveillance while monitoring synchronized evidence preservation. Years of classified operations had taught him how to ensure perfect documentation of criminal enterprise. James, Sarah's voice carried precise confirmation. Atlas shows continued systematic preservation. Their entire infrastructure remains intact. Dominguez's technical systems underwent methodical federal analysis, preserving every detail of their sophisticated operation. Evidence teams maintaining protocols, Marcus reported. Complete operational documentation proceeding as planned. The cartel's infrastructure had become perfect proof of their activities. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of preliminary interrogation as federal agents questioned Vega and his specialists. Their expertise with advanced systems now contributed to comprehensive criminal evidence. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for secured systems? He asked. Perfect preservation, she responded. All operational components remain intact. Connor observed how federal teams maintained systematic documentation while processing secured cartel positions. Their preservation protocols ensured complete operational evidence. Marcus, status on technical analysis? He asked. Comprehensive. Coverage, Marcus confirmed. All systems are being properly documented and preserved. A shift in tactical unit deployment covered continued evidence collection as federal teams secured additional components. The cartel's sophisticated infrastructure was being systematically preserved as proof of criminal enterprise. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on documentation status? He asked. Perfect preservation, she replied. Complete operational evidence maintained. Through the rotating mass of law enforcement personnel, Connor spotted more federal specialists analyzing secured systems. The cartel's perfect operation had become perfect evidence of their activities. Technical teams report continued success. Marcus reported systematic preservation protocols maintained throughout collection process. Connor studied Dominguez's growing realization as federal units documented his operation. The cartel leader's sophisticated infrastructure now provided comprehensive proof of criminal conspiracy. Status on evidence preservation? Connor asked, quietly. Complete documentation maintained. Sarah's voice carried professional focus. Perfect operational record preserved. A change in federal team deployment drew his attention as classified units arrived for detailed technical analysis. The cartel's quantum systems would provide unprecedented evidence of criminal financial operations. Marcus, confirmation on documentation status, Connor asked. Perfect preservation protocols, Marcus responded. Complete operational evidence secured. Through the chaos of systematic processing, Connor caught glimpses of more federal teams, preserving technical components. The cartel's sophisticated operation had been reduced to comprehensive criminal evidence. James, Sarah's voice carried fresh confirmation. Atlas shows continued perfect preservation. All systems remain intact for analysis. Connor watched federal specialists document Ramirez's financial infrastructure. The operator's expertise now, contributing to criminal prosecution. Evidence teams report continued success, Marcus reported. Systematic preservation maintained. Complete operational documentation proceeding. The cartel's systems had become perfect proof of their activities. A sudden shift in federal response drew Connor's attention to newly discovered technical components. The cartel's infrastructure was revealing additional evidence of criminal enterprise exactly as planned. Sarah, what's Atlas showing for documentation progress? He asked. Perfect preservation, she responded. Complete operational record maintained. Through the crowd, Connor observed how federal teams preserved perfect evidence while processing secured systems. Final confirmation received, Marcus reported. Systematic documentation nearly complete. Perfect preservation protocols maintained. Their sophisticated operation had been reduced to comprehensive criminal proof. Connor maintained his surveillance while monitoring continued evidence collection. Every cartel system was being preserved as detailed documentation of criminal enterprise. James, Sarah's voice carried final confirmation. Atlas shows complete operational preservation, perfect evidence maintenance throughout processing. Dominguez's quantum infrastructure underwent methodical federal analysis, his training useless against proper evidence collection. Technical teams report near completion, Marcus reported. Perfect documentation protocols maintained. Connor watched another group of federal specialists preserve critical components. Through the crowd, Connor caught fragments of federal analysis as technical teams preserved sophisticated systems. The cartel's advanced infrastructure now provided unprecedented criminal evidence. Sarah, what's Atlas reading on preservation status? He asked. Perfect documentation, she responded. Complete operational record maintained. Connor observed how federal units secured comprehensive evidence with systematic precision. Their preservation protocols had reduced sophisticated criminal enterprise to perfect prosecution material. Marcus, confirm documentation status, he asked. Mission nearly complete, Marcus confirmed. Perfect evidence preservation maintained. A change in Ramirez's behavior drew Connor's attention. The financial officer watched helplessly as federal teams documented his entire operation. Final systems being processed, Sarah reported. Atlas shows perfect preservation protocols throughout collection. Through the controlled chaos, Connor spotted federal teams completing systematic documentation. The cartel had lost all operational security, reduced to comprehensive criminal evidence. James, Marcus's voice carried final confirmation. Technical teams report mission success. Perfect operational preservation confirmed. Connor studied the culmination of federal response while maintaining his professional position. Every detail of the cartel's sophisticated operation had been preserved as evidence of criminal enterprise. His classified experience had taught him how to ensure perfect documentation of illegal activities. The stadium's massive screens flashed with final pre-game content as Connor confirmed complete mission success. The cartel had lost all operational security, their systems becoming perfect evidence. They had made one critical mistake. They never expected a Delta Force veteran to not only neutralize their operation, but preserve it as comprehensive proof of criminal conspiracy, demonstrating why sophisticated infrastructure becomes perfect documentation when properly seized. Thank you for following this thrilling story. If you enjoyed this multi-part tale of suspense and valor, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more riveting content. Your support means the world and helps us continue to bring you the stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Stay tuned for our next gripping saga, and until then, keep your wits sharp and your courage strong.